everybody, you're listening to The Art Show on 106.6 FM Wickham Sound. This is the weekly radio show where we chat about the local arts news. We have a different guest on each week. We head over to the Rhylight Zone for a short story and or some poetry. And we catch up with Twangling Jack Ford for a weekly album review. As always, you can find us on Facebook. If you search for The Art Show on Wickham Sound, you should be able to find us. And we are repeated on Wickham Sound on Monday nights. We're on the Wickham Sound Listen Again, iTunes, Spotify, and wherever else you get your podcasts. Please do leave us a short review on your podcast platform of choice. It all helps. You can find us on Facebook, I think I said that, and you can email me here at the studio by dropping me a line on dane.cobain@wickhamsound.org.uk. That's dane.cobain@wickhamsound.org.uk. I'm particularly keen to hear from performers, musicians, people with MP3s they'd like to share, people with local arts news, people with announcements. I need some new announcements, people, so do get in touch. Yeah, I'd love to hear from you. So, this week we're going to be chatting to Jake Cooper, formerly of the Phenomenauts, as well as Psycho Grand creator, comic artist and graphic novelist David Leach. But before we catch up with those, we're going to head over to the Rhylight Zone for the latest instalment of Monsters of Rock by myself, Dane Cobain.
I play the guitar better than you do, Yeva said. Plus I play bass guitar and piano. I can sing too. I'm not sure if you noticed. I did notice, Groen said. That's why I wanted to talk to you. We're looking for the final members of the Real Monsters and I thought you guys might be a good fit. What do you reckon? Kuz said. Yeva shrugged her shoulders and said nothing for a moment or two. Then she seemed to arrive at a decision. She smiled at him. And she said no. But Groen Gonadson was a persistent dwarf who was used to getting what he wanted, if only through a combination of luck and determination. Before the end of the night, Groen had at least been given a contact number for the two musicians. They were sleeping in the van, Yeva had explained, but they could be contacted through one of her friends at the Latvian embassy in London. So far, Groen hadn't needed to use a number. He'd told her where he lived and she'd ended up showing up of her own accord, although she hadn't brought Gzd with her, if it was possible to take a troll anywhere in the first place. And so it started with just Groen and Yeva, an unlikely duo playing rock and roll standards in a garden shed. Yeva had brought a travel keyboard with her, along with a stand and a foldable stool. That was more than Groen had, so he played standing up with his guitar hanging fashionably low on its strap. On Groen, that meant it was only a couple of inches above the floor. The first jam went well, though not exceptionally so, and they agreed to meet up again the following week, but with the rest of the band. There were too many of them to fit into Groen's shed, and it was far too cold to spill out into the garden. They compromised by practicing in a back room at the Rose and Crown. The pub was owned by a chap called Cedric, who was rumoured to be human, though he didn't look it. He was happy to let them use the room for free, so long as he didn't have any better offers. If nothing else, he earned a small fortune from Groen and Kuzd when they started buying drinks. And sometimes they actually sounded pretty good, to the point at which the sound of them stopped scaring people away and started luring them in instead. The first couple of sessions had been a disaster, and things had almost come to a head when Kuzd accidentally snapped the neck on his bass guitar in the middle of a run through Dark Nightmares. Careful, Steve growled. That thing almost took my arm off. What about me? Vlad protested from his relative safety behind the drum kit. That was almost like a stake to my heart. A stake to a heart would kill all of us, Groen said. Not me, Steve added. Sorry, that happens sometimes. Can you fix it? I have another one in the van. Then fetch it. Wait a minute, Vlad said hesitantly. What about... But it was too late, and Kuzd had already started opening the fire exit. Vlad, who'd been carried into the pub inside his coffin, turned a panic-stricken face towards the door, and then a shaft of light found its way in. He froze for a moment as though savouring the warmth. Then he burst into flames.
That was the latest instalment of Monsters of Rock by myself, Dane Cobain. You're listening to The Art Show on 106.6 FM on Wickham Sound. And, oh yes, it's time for us to have our weekly announcement because I completely forgot about it.
Alright, so an update from Twangling Jack Ford. He writes in to say, as myself and Saul Hawkes have been busking in Wickham Town Centre, usually around lunchtime on a Sunday. We are concentrating on early 70s rock as played by David Bowie, T-Rex, Slade, Mott the Hoople, etc. We call ourselves the Glam Buskers. We also have a gig at Festival 2025 on the 3rd of August at the Bell in Risborough. As is always the way in the Wickham music scene, Matt on drums also plays in another band and Phil on bass plays in 2 other bands. So I'm looking for anyone who wants to busk, either in the playing in the street meaning of the word, or also to play without being fully rehearsed. Maybe to get more gigs. Also, please check out my Twangling Jack in the Ilkshed YouTube channel with all my recommendations, spoken word pieces and original music. And please like and subscribe.
Alrighty, that's this week's announcement. You're listening to The Art Show on 106.6 FM Wickham Sound. I'm your host, Dane Cobain, and this is Twangling Jack Ford with music in a pub with friends.
Sometimes I want to sing about injustice and how we could make this world a better place. Sometimes I want to rage against the system and the hardships we all have to face. Sometimes I want to wash away the crime that no detergent could ever cleanse. Sometimes I just want to go into town and make music in a pub with some friends. Sometimes I want to question why progress must be fueled by greed. Bankers make us poor to earn more than they'll ever need. Sometimes I just want to take a break from this cycle that never ends. And sometimes I just want to go into town and make music in a pub with some friends. I boringly lecture on all of society's flaws. Sometimes it's overconsumption makes me get up on my high horse and blame the devotees of fashion, those dedicated followers of trends. But sometimes I just want to go into town and make music in a pub with some friends. I'm not someone who could talk to a crowd or even an average youth, but I think I can get my ideas across with the aid of a simple stew. And despite the constraints of meter and rhyme, I think I can still make sense. And I take my songs as I go into town to make music in a pub with some friends.
You're listening to The Art Show on 106.6 FM Wickham Sound. I'm your host, Dane Cobain, and this is Jake Cooper of the Phenomenauts with a little catch-up to see what's new.
Is what's new since last time we spoke? Admittedly, it's been about 4 years, something like that.
Yeah, so basically the Phenomenauts broke up.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, it was just a case of, timing and scheduling and everything like that. I think it got a little bit to people, but I'm now trying my bit as a solo artist. I've had a couple of gigs on my own, but I'm now decided I'm going to take a little bit of time to make an album's worth of material that's entirely mine and isn't linked to a band at all. So it's going to be somewhat different. Still sort of a punky, emo-y sort of edge, but it's all going to be like an acoustic, almost like folky country sort of stuff as well. Yeah. So I'm quite looking forward to that. It's going to be good fun.
Cool.
But I haven't got anything recorded yet. But yeah, it's going to be good fun. I've taken a step back from the live stuff to work on it for a bit.
Yeah. Cool.
And once that's ready, I'll go back out and do a few bits and pieces here and there.
And is it different writing, just to songs to just play yourself versus writing for a whole band?
Yeah, it's way different. Like the subject matter's a lot more personal as
Mm,
opposed to, what's what I'm used to doing where I could like, it was all stories and stuff like that. Now it's like, a little bit more like, okay, I don't have to think about what everybody else is doing. I'm doing my own thing. I don't need to write, a guitar part, a bass part, let Dan do the drums and work like that. It's an entirely different beast working on my own.
yeah. And when it comes to recording, how are you going to approach that? Are you going to bring in other musicians? Are you going to do all the different instruments yourself? Are you going to just keep it just vocals and guitar? What's the
I'm
plan there?
thinking like keep it real, like, raw, like just do it as literally just vocals and guitar for the first one maybe. And
Yeah.
then if I don't like it, then maybe bring in, I'll play most of the musicians, then get a drummer in more than anything.
Yeah, awesome. Sounds good. Well, and I know one of the things I wanted to chat to you about because you've been spending a lot of time in the gym lately. So can we chat about that and
Yeah, go for it, man.
what inspired you to quote unquote get into shape and what's that journey look like?
Basically I was living at my old flat and my mate Mike basically messaged me out of the blue saying, "Look, I need a spotter. I've got started lifting heavy. I need someone who can come in, make sure I don't die."
Hmm.
So he was like, "Can you come?" And in the end, I like sort of fell in love with it. I mean, it wasn't my first time stepping in there. I'd been, done fitness things before. I used to kickbox. I did used to lift a little bit beforehand, but then it basically just reignited something in me, and I was like, "Okay, we're going to take this a lot more seriously now." And since then, I've attempted to get into powerlifting. No one does local meets, so I abandoned that one. I found strongman instead, and
Yeah.
there's actually quite a healthy like strongman scene in like the south of the UK, and I'm quite looking forward to it. I've got a couple of competitions that I'm eyeballing up. I reckon I can do some damage in them, and I'm quite
Yeah.
looking forward to it.
And what does like a strongman event like entail? Like
So
what's the
basic,
challenges?
yeah. So basically, it would be between 4 and 6 different events. They can go up to like 8 if you go, into the ridiculous pro level. Usually it'll be like something like you start with a deadlift. There'll be an overhead work. So like, your overhead press, log press, axle. Then there'll be a carry of some description. So it'll be farmers or a yoke carry or something like that. And then you'll probably always do something with stones as well. So the
Mm,
Atlas stones or like a Husafeld stones or something like that. So you're usually doing a loading work as well. So it's a completely different beast of what I was doing with powerlifting.
yeah, yeah, for sure. And is there like any crossover between the lifting and the music, like in terms of, I suppose it takes a lot of dedication to the craft for both of them. But I mean, do
Oh
you
yeah,
do you do you sit there thinking about lyrics while you're in the gym and things like that?
sometimes I've penned a couple of like choruses and like come up with a couple of lines as I'm going because I'm usually sat there, like I'm in the zone, so I'm usually
Mm,
trying to not think of anything else. But when I'm on the treadmill or I'm like on the bike or something like that, then I'll usually be like, oh, I've got an idea for something here, and I'll usually like hum the tune to
mm.
myself or write the lyrics down or something like that. There is crossover. Some of it's like bleeding into itself. Obviously, it's not reflecting in the lyrics because cringe, but
Yeah. Well, and I wonder like what's on your like gym playlist and like when at what points do you listen to music? Do you listen while lifting at all, or is it just when doing cardio or
I do listen to music the whole time, basically.
Mhm.
Um, my gym playlist is called Lifting Weights and Not Scoring Dates. It's mostly like metal. So it's all just super heavy stuff. There's some like, weird little dance tracks in there. I've nearly died because of a couple of the songs that have made me laugh because I put on Sexy, the Shawn Michaels theme tune.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
And that came on once when I was deep in the hole of the squat. And
yeah,
all I heard was hands off the merchandise. And I started laughing to myself and I lost my brace.
yeah. Nice.
It was funny that there's a couple in there that have really like almost got me. I had one where I was benching, and I had what was it? Unwritten by Natasha Bedingfield
Nice.
came
Yeah.
on, a banger, but but when you've got 120 kilo on like up here and you
Yeah.
start laughing, you're like, oh no.
Yeah. I saw a while back one of the running accounts that I follow. They got all of their followers to write in with like the worst songs to listen to while doing a 10K. And they made like a Spotify playlist and so listen to this playlist while they were running. But it was all like one of them was Eine kleine Nachtmusik by Mozart. So just like really sad, slow piano music. And then it was just like all like I like just loads of like really cheesy novelty music. Like I think Agadoo was one of them and all this other stuff. And they said by the end of it, they were actually starting to kind of perversely enjoy it. But like that, people had picked stuff as well where it's like there's like really weird tempos, so you can't keep a straight pace with
Oh
it and
yeah,
all of that stuff.
stuff like a Dream Theater would really like mess
Yeah,
up the tempo.
yeah. Well,
Or a Tool.
it's funny when you mentioned like because I immediately went to when you mentioned like sort of those songs throwing you off. I was like, you got to have like some Electric Six or something in there that again would just
Oh, it's
totally throw you.
Electric Cool Boy is one of the ones that throws me off a lot as
Yeah,
well.
nice. Awesome. So in terms of like timescales for with your music and whatnot, because I know it's hard to give it, isn't it? And I mean, inspiration strikes when it strikes, but
Yeah.
what are you hoping, what are you hoping to when are you hoping to have something to show people?
Well, I want to have something, even if it's just a scratch demo of a couple of songs
Mm,
in the next year or so, and then maybe have the album out in the two. But it's just a case of, inspiration comes when inspiration comes, and I haven't, written anything like this
yeah.
in forever, and let alone written even a song in probably 3 years since the
Mm,
phenomenon's disappeared. So
yeah.
it's a whole new out like fresh thing I've got to come up with on my own again.
Yeah, yeah. And
But
when like how do you think you're gonna like refine those songs? Do you plan to because I know you mentioned you're taking a step back from performing while you kind of work on new material. Do you reckon you'll do some live shows sort of between writing the songs and recording them, or are you gonna write them,
yeah,
record them, and then
there'll be a case of, once I've got a healthy probably 10 to 12 songs, I'll take them out. I'll, show them around a little bit, maybe even make up some scratch demos so I can
mm,
take some, show some people what I've got. Um, and then basically, what from there, sorry, I got distracted when I made sent me a message. Um, yeah, basically make up a few scratch demos and then show them to my friends, and they can give me their feedback and
mm,
say what's good, what's not, and then we can trim the fat from there.
yeah, nice. And I guess are you gonna do something similar with having I it's a bit of a loaded question here, but like, are you going to try and shoot for more songs than you need so that you can maybe, scrap the weakest?
Yeah, that's the idea. Usually you would walk into an album with about between 20 and 30 songs, then you'd cut the fat essentially. Like the producer would usually help you. I've got them. I think that James Starkey, who's another radio DJ I know, he said he's willing to do the production work for me as well. So if when it comes to the time of recording, me and him are just going to go disappear into the woods and make some music.
So, in terms of influences for this, because I know we talked in the past about, influences for the phenomenauts, and even then you did talk about some of those folkier influences that you have, but who would you say are the biggest influences on this sort of this new
So
style that you're embarking on?
So it's probably sort of like a Tyler Childersy sort of vibe. He's probably one of the main ones at the minute. Got really into him. There's also like I've got elements of like still sticking to that, Heartland Rocky sort of stuff with the Springsteen and
Mm,
um the Menzingers, the Gaslight Anthem, what I said previously. But there's also like the elements of the country sort of stuff with oh, what's his name? Dylan Gossett is another one I've got an idea with. There's obviously some Tim Barry in there, some John Prine, some Chris Stapleton, and then the other guy I'm trying to actually find is Zach Bryan.
cool. Awesome. So just to sort of round things off on my traditional ender is sort of what's next for you, which I think we've covered, but anything else you want to throw out there?
Um,
And where can people follow you as well?
yeah, so you guys, I've started a separate account for my journey to the strongman competitions, which is
Hmm.
called Jake Tries Strongman on Instagram.
Cool.
And then I've also, well, I haven't got anything to put on Spotify yet, but I guess once it's up there, I'll put. I could obviously drop you a line. You can shout it out.
Yeah, for sure.
Also, everyone should read The Devils by Joe Abercrombie.
Awesome. I've not read any of his stuff before, but he's been recommended a lot to me just in general because of, you know, the kind of stuff that I read. So I'll have to check that out.
The Devils is hilarious. It's almost. I'm only like in about. I think I'm a quarter of the way through, not even.
Yeah.
And it's had me like I've had it on audiobook in my car when I'm going to and from work, and it's had me like chuckling quite a lot.
Big thank you to Jake Cooper for joining me for a quick catch-up to let us know what's new. You're listening to The Art Show on 106.6 FM Wickham Sound. I'm your host, Dane Cobain, and this is Jake with Believe.
Sad you leaving. It takes time to believe it, but after all is said and done, you're gonna be the lonely one. No, do you believe in life after love? I can feel something inside me say, I really don't think you're strong enough, no. Do you believe in life after love? I can feel something inside me say, I really don't think you're strong enough, no. Time to think it through. Maybe I'm too good for you. Oh, do you believe in life after love? I can feel something inside me say, I really don't think you're strong enough, no. Do you believe in life after love? I can feel something inside me say, I really don't think you're strong enough, no. But I know I can get through this, 'cause I know that I'm strong. I don't need you anymore. I don't need you anymore. I don't need you anymore. No, I don't need you anymore, no. Do you believe in life after love? I can feel something inside me say, I really don't think you're strong enough, no. Do you believe in life after love? I can feel something inside me say, I really don't think you're strong enough, no. Do you believe in life after love? I can feel something inside me saying, I really don't think you're strong enough. No.
That was Believe by Jake Cooper. You're listening to The Archer on 106.6 FM Wickham Sound. I'm your host, Dane Cobain. And it's time for us to be joined in conversation by our second guest of the week now. This is David Leach, a comic book artist, graphic novelist, and local awesome writer folk. Over to David.
So what's new since last time we spoke? So granted, it's been at least 2 or 3 years. So what have you been up to over the last 2 or 3 years?
Crikey, last 2 or 3 years, I brought out. I've got 14 different comic books I've now got out. So in 2 years, that would be 1 issue of Psychogram Comic Capers Cavalcade, 3 issues of Monolith's Adventures in Hollywood, and the final 2 chapters of my autobiographical comic, David Leach Conquers the Universe, of which I've just taken delivery of the graphic novel, which I'm holding in my hand to show you. There we are. So that's all 4 issues in 1 graphic novel. So yeah, I've been a busy boy, and apart from that, obviously, doing the day job. So I'm not making comics for other people in my day job and doing my own in the evening.
Yeah, cool.
So quite busy.
And have you done any like comic cons or anything like that? Any events? Because I think last time we spoke, it was probably it might have been just post COVID, but it was certainly before everything was back to quote unquote normal.
Yeah, well, whatever normal is. Yeah, I last year I did 23 shows. So after COVID, there was 2020 was a dead year. 2021 things slowly started getting up. I think there were 7 shows. That was also the very first show I went back to after COVID was lifted, all the restrictions, and I went abroad to do a show in Holland. I came back with COVID.
Oh, typical.
Yeah. So since then, the show's been going up and up. Last year, I did 23 shows in a year, which was way too many. And this year I'm online. I've already done 16 shows this year. I've got another 9 to go. So yeah, so I'm back to full speed and doing all the shows. So my next one's going to be in Dublin in August. And then I don't know. I'm doing Cardiff. That's coming up soon. Hoping to do Malta at the end of the year. And in between that, I've got London Film and Comic Con, and also MCM Winter. So those are the big ones. Awesome. And then a couple nearby. There's one in Banbury I'm doing. I think I'm doing one in Aylesbury. And then obviously I rock up. Wow, listen to me. The last Saturday of the year, the last Saturday in December before Christmas, I mean, I set up at Dead Universe Comics in Aylesbury, who are the wonderful guys who publish all my books for me. So I do a day there on the last Saturday. So that's always good. This will be the 3rd year of doing that. So yeah, just a busy boy.
Awesome. And is it the events? Is that your best sort of marketing? What's your most effective way of sort of selling the comics, or is it word of mouth?
Well, interestingly enough, so normally my comics are sold in 2 different comic shops. One's in Aylesbury, which is Dead Universe, and they've got all my books there. The other one is a comic shop in Cardiff in Jacob's Market, which is a brilliant antique centre. I've been trying to get more comics out there, but I run into difficulties there. Like a lot of comic shops, they consider, because my stuff's humor based, a lot of them aren't really that interested. So what I tend to do is do them at shows. I've got a Psychogram Facebook page, and I announce stuff on there. And when I brought out the graphic novel, which has only been on sale, it went on sale for the first, when was it? I think it was London Film and Comic Con, which is only a couple of weeks ago. And that was the first time I went on sale, and I sold incredible. I sold, like, it doesn't sound like a lot, but for me, I was really surprised. I sold 15 copies over the weekend, which for a graphic novel, I was very impressed with. Yeah. So that's a good start. So I've that's normally where I sell them, is at shows. And it's okay, for me, I give everyone who comes to my table, they get a stand-up routine. They get a 10-minute stand-up routine, which it's word perfect now, and I can do the same thing over and over again. And each time I get a new customer, I give it with the same energy and enthusiasm. It's a nightmare for anybody who's showing a table on either side of me, because they'll get to hear the spiel. And it's very funny, the number of people who say to me at the end of a show, an alien kicks in the pom-poms, which is one of my sales pitches for Psycho Gran.
Yeah.
So yeah, anyway, there we are. Yeah, I mainly do them through shows and announcements on Facebook. I mean, when I announced the Leach Kong's Universe graphic novel, I sold 5 on the internet without anybody seeing it. I just announced it, showed them the cover, and I had 5 sales. So yeah, I'm finding now, having done this for so long, is that I have repeat business now. I have people that come back and buy whatever I put out that's new, they want to buy it. And also, you know, I've got about, I think it's 1.2 thousand followers on, it's not huge, but it's enough for me. 1.2 thousand followers on Facebook for Psycho Gran. And that's always nice. And I think just people beginning to sort of want my stuff, which is very, 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 very wonderful when you get people that come back and actually like what you do. It's and I didn't have that for a long time. And I used to worry that all the stuff I was doing was just, you know, who cared? But to actually get people coming back and wanting it is fab.
Yeah, almost people waiting for your next release and telling you to hurry up, and you're like, oh god, I've got an audience now who I need to satisfy.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, like Leach Kong's Universe, I finished issue 1 in 1998.
Yeah,
and it's taken me 26 years to finish the damn thing off. You know, there was they just take time. I mean, like issue 4, the final issue, took me 2 years to draw. I hit writer's block about halfway through and just gave up on it because I was just exhausted by it. I went off and did other things and then came back to it. So they just take time. But then on the other hand, I did Monolith. So Monolith is perhaps the most stupid book I've ever done. I only ever do stupid stuff. I don't do anything serious.
Yeah.
So Monolith is the idea that the Monolith from the film 2001, The Space Odyssey, that granite block.
Yeah, I know the one.
He was a really versatile actor. And I've done 3 books of basically all the films he auditioned for but didn't get. So it's a silent gag book. And so you basically take a classic film and you just replace the lead actor with a monolith.
Yeah.
And that's proved to be very popular. But I did that whole book. So that was about 80 odd cartoons. I did that in 5 weeks flat. So sometimes things can inspire you, and it's very strange what does and what doesn't. But definitely the Leach Kong's Universe, that was hard work.
Yeah.
And also because it was so seriously drawn, I tried to make it as good as I could. So it took a lot of effort. Yeah. And you end up drawing it 3 times. You pencil it, you wink it, and then you color it, and then you got to go back and letter it. And so by the time you finished it, you genuinely hate what you've wasted all that time on. You know. Same for you. You must feel the same way.
Exactly the same. We're going through, like first draft rewrites, edits, proofreading, etc. And by the time something comes out, you're already like, well, I'm like halfway through my next thing now. You've already kind of, mentally and emotionally moved on. But I mean, what's interesting with the Monolith one as well. So, because I suppose with that, it's a very simple premise where it's like you know how like when people sort of do a sales pitch for a book or whatever, and they say it's so and so with so and so. Like one of mine, like I'm describing it, it's Lord of the Rings meets Spinal Tap. That's how I like describe it. But you still got to kind of plot it out and have your story arc and all of this stuff. Whereas I suppose with graphic novels, there can occasionally be things like that where it's like it's just this, as you say, it's like this idea, and then it's kind of finding different ways to tell the same gag almost. But you don't have to kind of come up with a narrative that ties every single idea together.
I agree. I mean, like I do so many different things. So with Psycho Gran, I do 2 things. One's her beating up people. So it's a single image of her beating up superheroes. It's mainly punched or kicked in the testicles, which is always hilarious. So that's silent. But the comic strips, they tend to be either 3 or 9 or 12 pages long. So they're a narrative. But with Leach Kong's Universe, it was like long form. So issue 4 was 28 pages. And then my scripts will be much longer than that because I was writing full scripts. But it's interesting what you described. You described what's classically known as an elevator pitch, which is imagine you're stuck in an elevator with a film director, and you've got one story to tell your pitch in. And so, you try and do it in 30 words or less. I did that. I once pitched a book, which one of the books I published, which is called Din Ladies from Hell, which is a book I did back in the 90s for a kids, not kids comic, for a comic called Toxic. And the 30-word pitch went like this, which was: the 4 wives of the riders of the apocalypse have 6 days, 6 hours, and 6 minutes to corrupt 7 children with the 7 deadly sins, and only one man in God's cookbook stand in their way. And I pitched that to the editor, and he went, "I'll have it."
Yeah.
So
sometimes that's all you need.
Yeah, that is, because that's the whole plot, sort of, broken down into its absolute basic minimum.
Yeah.
But it's not. I mean, from there, I've always thought it's much easier it's very hard taking stuff out. I mean, putting stuff in. You're a writer. You know the same thing. You can just write and write and write. There's never, you know, your story will take as long as it takes.
Yeah.
But the actual joy in writing is when you have to cut it down, when you have to take stuff up and you have to sharpen it up, and you have to. That's where the absolute pleasure comes from. And I enjoy that aspect. I find the writing. I mean, of all the aspects of being creative, the writing and the drawing and all the rest, it's the actual act of writing which is the most liberating, because it's just your imagination and a blank piece of paper, and that is just glorious. That's just, you know, that's where where it's exhilarating. Yeah, for me, the actual drawing part is probably the most tedious, because it's just laborious. There's no real.
It's just
part of
the kind of the price of playing.
Yeah, totally, absolutely, yeah.
Cool. So I want to ask you super quickly about the new mural that our mutual friend Dan Wilson has done.
Yeah.
What's it like to see your name on the wall over there in the it's like the underpass down by the Bellevue and the train station?
Absolutely. Well, your name's there too, isn't it?
It is, yes. Which I didn't know until Stephen Colgan posted about it on Facebook, and I was reading through it and I was like, hang on, that's me. Which I had no idea, so that was quite interesting.
I had no idea at all until somebody stopped me in the park and told me, and it was like, oh, okay. Yeah. Well, that's actually, without bragging, it's actually the second nod I've got in High Wycombe now. There's a Henry's Cat bit of graffiti on the old Eden Centre opposite KFC in Frogmarsh.
Yeah,
and it has Henry's cat waving, saying "Hello, David," and that David is me.
Oh right, yeah. So I live not far from there, so I go past that all the time. So now I know
that's me.
Yeah, cool.
Because my first job was working. I was the ghost artist on Henry's Cat. Yeah. Anyway, just the underpass. That I felt. I was very honoured to be, you know. I mean, I think Steve Colgan, you know, deserves to be on there. He's you know, he's a legend. Good God, that man is so fascinating to talk to. You know, he's sort of, yeah. So to be part of that list, I felt very flattered. I felt also a bit sort of, it felt disingenuous. I don't feel I've done enough to warrant my name being up on the wall, but it was very nice. I mean, you know, it's nice to see.
Yeah. Well, for me, the thing I like is it's right next to the big bit about Terry Pratchett as well, who was a huge, you know, inspiration and influence on me. And, you know, it's kind of incredible to be next to such an iconic author.
Absolutely. Yeah. I'm not a huge fan of his, but I understand where you're coming from with that. Yeah. I think it was, it's very nice. The same for you. I thought you must have been very chuffed.
Yeah, for sure. Cool. Okay, and I just want to end on, just to finish up with, what have you got planned next? So I won't ask you over the next 2 or 3 years, but over the next, you know, the rest of 2025, what have you got planned?
Well, I'm sitting. I can't say anything yet, because I'm still waiting for the final go ahead. But so I have one ambition left in life, and I've done all the things I ever set out to do. My last ambition is to have a book in the British Library with my name and my ISBN number, my own ISBN number. And then I've achieved a very small modicum of immortality, which is the only thing I want.
Yeah.
I mean, I've got kids, but that's not the same. Who cares? So I'm on the cusp, and I don't want to tempt fate. I'm on the cusp of actually landing my very first gag book. It'll be a silent gag book of a very famous movie monster. And it will be his life story in comic book form, and the same sort of idea, single page gags. I'm on the cusp again. Now, if I get that, the book will come out next year. I've got to draw the damn thing, but I've done all the rough. So that would be, for me, that would be wonderful if that happens. In the meantime, I'm sort of, I swore I wouldn't do anything long again, but I'm actually started work on a sequel to David Leach Conquers the Universe, which will be called The Return of David Leach.
Nice.
And at the minute, I'm still pondering. I'm probably the same for you when it comes to the creative part. There's lots of internal dialogue between both parts of my brain, discussing it and working out stuff and analyzing it. So at the minute, I'm just sitting down and writing at the computer and just seeing what's in there, what's coming out. So I'm already writing scenes and dialogue, but there's no coherent story yet. There's a series of incidents. So my brain's always, I can't stop it. It's just non-stop. So what am I up to? Just the same stuff I've been doing. Next year will be my 40th year of making comic books. So amazing. I'm just doing what I've done for the last 40 years, which is wasting my life making stupid comics.
Yeah. Awesome. Cool. Okay. And and I guess where can people get your stuff? So we've mentioned you've got the Psychogram Facebook page.
Yes.
And so you mentioned the comic shop in Aylesbury as well. Is that the best place for people to go and grab a copy?
Yes. Yeah, I mean, I was in there a couple of weeks ago, and they've got quite a lot of my stuff in there. So if you go to Dead University, it's down Bourbon Street or Bourbon Street. No, it's Bourbon, isn't it? Not Bourbon. That'd be great if it's a street named after a biscuit. I'd like that. Anyway, sorry, I'm rambling. Yeah, so it's down Bourbon Street or Bourbon, whatever you want. And Dead University, they're a brilliant comic shop. They've got a fabulous back issue, and they've got all my comics on the ground floor. And if you ask behind the counter, I'm sure they will show you all my comic books.
Big thank you to David Leach for joining me. You're listening to The Art Show on 106.6 FM Wickham Sound. I'm your host, Dane Cobain, and this is Humans Can't Reboot with Fading.
Now I'm only getting stronger. I won't stay here any longer. There's nothing left here to say. You broke every chance I gave. There's no turning back tonight. There's no taking back the light. I can't take this anymore. No more waiting. What were we ever fighting for? Now we're fading. No more time for your games. I'm not gonna take the blame. Leaving everything behind. I'm not coming back this time. I can't take this anymore. No more waiting. What were we ever fighting for? Now we're faded. Now we're faded. Faded. Now we're faded.
A moistened mattress from a fever dream, unbridled panic, your dirty drama queen. A blood-red sunrise reflects off an old guitar. You can run all you want to, but you won't get far. A tortured poet, creative cocaine fiend, runs his yellowed fingers through 90s magazines. His tinted glasses disguise his absent gaze. There's no sense in rushing, he'll be days. Prepare the pipes and we'll be fine. Numb in body and numb in mind. In your mind, in your mind. Prepare the pipes and we'll be fine. Numb in body and numb in mind. In your mind, in your mind. Finally balanced by a spoiled surprise. No, she can't be trusted, those shifty angel eyes. A backstreet banger or a future queen. To those dirtied masses, once washed but never clean. The eyes are rolling as you rot inside. No, I can't console you, but I'm by your side. You never listened to your own advice. If it nearly kills you, well then don't try it twice. Prepare the pipes and we'll be fine. Numb in body, numb in mind. In your mind, in your mind. Prepare the pipes and we'll be fine. Numb in body, numb in mind. In your mind, in your mind. You're chemically owned. You can't sit up on your own. You can barely raise your head. You're a sucker for the pie. At least you were tonight. Prepare the pipe, turn out the light, just for tonight, caught in disaster. Prepare the pipe, turn out the light, just for tonight, caught in disaster. Prepare the pipes, turn out the lights, just for tonight, caught in disaster. Prepare the pipes, turn out the lights, just for tonight, caught in disaster. Prepare the pipes, turn out the lights, just for tonight, caught in disaster. Too high. Prepare the pipes, turn out the lights, just for tonight, caught in disaster. Too
That was Prepare the Pipes by Bert Honor, and before that we had Fading by Humans Can't Reboot. You're listening to The Art Show on 106.6 FM Wickham Sound. I'm your host Dane Cobain, and it's time for us to head over to the Ilk Shed now to catch up with Twangling Jack Ford for this week's album review.
Stephen Still's self-titled first album, sometimes called Stephen Stills 1. I bought this CD for £3 at the car boot sale in West Wickham. I was not necessarily expecting much from it, even though it features the song Love the One You're With. A song I have always quite liked, possibly because of the message in the lyrics, and possibly because it features a similar jubilant vocal chant to Stills' song Sweet Judy Blue Eyes, which is my favourite Crosby, Stills and Nash song. Love the One You're With has a host of backing vocalists, including Crosby and Nash, and it became part of the Crosby, Stills and Nash repertoire. I think I probably thought this album would be a typical early 70s singer-songwriter album, in the style of Cat Stevens or James Taylor. There is one song that sounds a bit like watered-down Crosby, Stills and Nash, which is probably how I thought the album would sound, but I do actually quite like that song. There is one acoustic blues song that represents the kind of thing I was dreading. There is a very tuneful song called Sit Yourself Down that I'm sure I must have heard before, and I'm definitely pleased to have found it now. It has the big gospelly backing vocals that are a feature of most of the album, especially on the very effective gospel song that combines everything you would expect in a gospel song. There is a song that has a bass line that reminded me of the Cream version of Born Under a Bad Sign. That song actually features Eric Clapton. There is also a slightly funky rock track which has Stills battling his Hammond organ against Jimi Hendrix. There is some string-drenched blue-eyed soul. In places it can sound quite 60s with instrumental stabs that remind me of MacArthur Park or the Pearl and Dean cinema advertising. There is a lot of peace and love. Obviously there is the rose in the fisted glove where the eagle flies with the dove. But also there is a lot of Age of Aquarius, Let the Sunshine In, Like to Teach the World to Sing, and Buy the World a Coke, Peace and Love. It is an album from 1970 that typifies the spirit of the late 60s. Stephen Stills.
Big thank you to Twangling Jack Ford for this week's album review. Thank you to Jake Cooper and David Leach for being this week's guests. Thank you to everyone whose music I've shared. As always, you can reach out to me here at the studio by dropping me a line on dane.cobain@wickhamsound.org.uk. That's dane.cobain@wickhamsound.org.uk. I'm particularly keen to hear from performers, poets, musicians, people with MP3s they'd like to share, local arts news, etc. Don't hesitate to get in touch. You can also find us on Facebook. If you search for The Art Show on Wickham Sound, you should be able to find us. And we are repeat on Wickham Sound on Monday nights. We're on the Wickham Sound Listen Again, iTunes, Spotify, and wherever else you get your podcasts. Please do leave us a short review on your podcast platform of choice. So I'm going to leave you with one last tune, and this is The Gold with Uncle Pennybags. I'll catch you next week.
Comes to mind, he's got a proposition I can't decline. The game he runs will make me mighty fine. He gives me a penny, the rest is alone. I play on my own and I'm the pawn. I figure out the rules as off you go. Disconcerted I play as people around me keep saying, some win, some lose, there is no other way. Be watchful as your eyes go blind. Be charming as your mouth goes dry. Be savvy as your brain goes numb. Be a lover as your heart goes down. I get accustomed to the sound of the dice I trade, I deal. It even feels nice, but it's nowhere near enough. I must play twice. The rent goes off, I'm kicked out of Brick Lane. By the time I'm in Strand, I'm read by 10k. Just one more chance, no go, I'm thrown in jail. I lost all I had to the game, yet people keep saying, some win, some lose, there is no other way. Be watchful as your eyes go blind. Be charming as your mouth goes dry. Be savvy as your brain goes numb. Be a lover as your heart goes on our Phoebe mutual spite. Unscathed by battles fought by hammer, sickles, dynamite, burnouts and constant worries hardly equip us for a war. We'll fight with broken bones, united by